Welcome to the show. My name is Claude Shuari. Today we're talking about entrepreneurship. This is a topic that is obviously of high importance in our communities because with everything that is happening, people are looking at how they can create businesses and be able to create revenue. As we know, employment nowadays is no longer guaranteed. That started happening years and years ago, and COVID has just made things worse. So we'll talk about entrepreneurship in just a moment, right after this. Thank you very much. We do apologize to all our viewers because we had some interruption due to some technical difficulties. Now everything is back to normal. And today we're talking about entrepreneurship, as I said in my introduction. And to discuss this topic with me, I have my guest who is Prosper Taruvinga. Prosper, how are you today?
Fantastic, Clyde. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Thank you very much. We know that you're a busy person, so we do appreciate that you took your time to come to our show and talk to us about something that obviously is of very high interest to you because you live and breathe business and entrepreneurship. That's what I understand, isn't it?
Fantastic. I just wanted to bring back your memory to 2016. Remember, you gave me an award for upcoming entrepreneur of the year for that year. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, we did, and I remember it was such a wonderful opportunity. On that year, we had quite a few people in the community that was doing exceptionally well, and you were one of them. So that's very good. Now, before we go into the topic of entrepreneurship, just tell us a little bit about yourself so that people understand more about who you are, and since you've been in Australia, your journey, and all that sort of thing.
absolutely. So, thank you once again. So, I arrived in Australia in 2011, and generally, I started off, just like everybody else, working in a restaurant, and I moved up the ranks, and started running their marketing in that restaurant. And then from then on, I then decided I needed to branch out and do my own thing, and then I started Live Long Digital, where we now have a full agency and we're helping consultants to scale their business so that they can be able to reach their audiences and help more people in the communities.
How did you get into that digital business? Was it something that you have always wanted to do, or it just happened as a serendipity, basically?
Well, call it luck, call it serendipity, but you can only connect the dots looking backwards. You can't foresee or foretell what normally would have been happening. So, like I said, I arrived in Australia 2011, and one of the first jobs that I did was work in a restaurant. And while I was working in that restaurant, I went on and did something that later on became the foundation of my digital agency and my entrepreneurial journey. I went and created a Facebook page for the restaurant Clyde, that the owner had not authorized, and I almost got fired for it.
Oh, really? You almost got fired for it, but I suppose it was something that led you to your, interest in digital marketing, wasn't it?
You see, back at that time, the internet was only just getting started. So there were
Mm.
tools like Zomato, there were tools like Urban Spoon, where people would leave reviews. And normally the reviews that they were leaving at that time were usually really bad reviews. So when I
Mm.
went in and I started working in this restaurant, I had just arrived in Australia, and I knew no one. So I thought to myself, Clyde, if the only way I can connect with people that are working in this restaurant was to create a Facebook page, and I was hoping that if people connected onto the page, then I'll get to know them through their profiles and then get to find out what they do and then connect with them some more. So it was all just a matter of wanting to connect with others.
Well, that's good, and that led you to what you're doing now. Now, what do you think about the overall context of the African Australian community? I see a lot of people now getting into entrepreneurship. It's starting to actually attract the interest of many because back in, I came to Australia in late 1999, and I could hardly find a few even shops in the Food Square area. Even trying to get food, African food, was a problem. But since then, we have seen quite a bit of a change, and people are getting into entrepreneurship, not just in shops, but they're creating other businesses. And people from Zimbabwe, where I understand you're from, or even Nigerian and Somalis, they're getting very, very active in business. What do you think explains that?
Now, Clyde, just listening to you speak, I can tell you're a very educated person. And naturally, that is the description of a lot of other entrepreneurs or other Africans that are out there. We're educated, we're entrepreneurial, and we're driven. And looking
Mm.
at the situation that's happening, in Australia at this current moment, a lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people don't have any job security lined up for them. So it is only befitting for them to actually get on to start providing for themselves, and providing
Mm.
for your family and having a chance to build a better life are usually the strongest motivators for a lot of migrants, that are choosing to live in Australia right now.
Absolutely. But entrepreneurship is not easy, is it?
Just like anything else, Clyde, nothing is ever easy. But I believe if you have a vision, and you back that up with a bit of action, most of the things that we come across in life are surmountable. Half of the things that usually, disrupt people from being successful in business is usually the grit that comes along with creating a business that is actually profitable and enjoyable. And if you learn your way up, or if you find and seek out people that have already done and succeeded in that, then you can use the clues that they leave behind.
Okay. What would be some of uh, I mean, some of the advice you would give to people out there who, as you said, they may be educated, they've got a good job, but they wanting to sort of cross the line and venture into entrepreneurship, but they're not quite sure because it's not easy. There's a lot of hesitation. I remember even myself. My last job at the telecommunication ombudsman was for about 9 years, and 10 years before that, I worked for Telstra. But I thought of going into business for quite some time until it took me over 5 years really to make that decision. So I'm quitting my 9 to 5 job, and I'm getting into business, and I run a transport and removalist business. There are a lot of people who hesitate to take that step. What would you tell them?
Fantastic. You see, when it comes to starting and growing a business, that's usually a very personal endeavor. And I would address your audience to look at my fingers there. And I want to say this: my grandmother always told me, no two fingers on the same hand are of the same height. So we should not put ourselves, into a very difficult position just because we want to achieve a certain goal. Find out what it is that you're actually good at, that you can do without anyone paying you for at least a year, and make sure that you will be providing and delivering that service, all right, in order for you to make it in the business world. Because it does take a solid 2 years for you to actually figure out what your message is, who your target audience is, and who would actually be the person who is buying from you. So even if you're educated, or even if you have some sort of expertise, start learning and figuring out who has the success that you want to achieve, and then start learning from them, because success leaves clues. If you discover the people that have already gotten to the place where you want to go to, find out how you can reverse engineer where they are, and then maybe you will find your own path, and then make it your own, because there's no strict formula. It's just a matter of, do you really want it bad enough?
Yeah, and I suppose it's a matter of making that big decision of saying okay, because there's the sort of the comfort of the 9 to 5 job with regular income coming in, and then there's the uncertainty of venturing into business. We know that about 70% of businesses, small businesses that get created, actually are closed down within the first year, and that's statistics in Australia. And when people hear that sort of thing, they kind of get hesitant or even scared. But it's just a matter of deciding, of obviously preparing well before you make that step, and then deciding, I gotta go. I burn the bridges, and I'm going, isn't it?
Absolutely. You see, the thing is, I viscerally believe that in this world, we are here to live, we're here to learn, and we're here to contribute. Now, when we live our best lives, you could be doing that while you're in your 9 to 5, but most of the times we find out that we are in our best mood and we're contributing the most when we're actually working by ourselves. So it is a gift to be able to experience that. And once you have been given that opportunity or that platform, please hold it with both hands, because it might slip away, like you say.
Mm,
Statistics and things like the current situation of COVID, might just take it away, from people. But half of the time, it's not a matter of trying to accomplish the world or trying to accomplish certain success metrics that are out there. Just find out what can you contribute the most of in the world, that your gift and what you are here to give to the rest of humanity will be happy to pay you for. And then just keep doing that. Even if you do it for one person, that one person is going to go out and tell the next person and the next person and the next person, and soon you have at least a couple of clients that can sustain your living. But it just really comes from within.
absolutely. And I suppose sometimes I totally agree with what you're saying. It's got to come within, and you can find something that you think you're good at, and that you can actually offer to others, because it's all about providing some sort of solutions. And sometimes things can actually happen out of chance. Really, I remember my own business. I never really uh, planned to go into transport business, because it's not my area. I mean, I've got my training and education is in journalism, but then when that was what I was doing back in the Congo. When I came to Australia, I worked for Telstra in customer service and call center management for a while, and then I went to the ombudsman doing investigation and stuff. But then um, I got into contact with, I mean, a friend of mine who's in Canberra had a couple of trucks that he bought to send some equipment back to the Congo for secondhand hospital equipment. He couldn't do anything with the trucks anymore, and he said, "You have a big network in Melbourne. Have a look and see if you can do something with these trucks." And I got those trucks. I said, "Okay." Well, I found people in my network who could know. One had worked for a removalist company before. He said there's actually good money in this, and I know a few people who are in transport and removalists. And said, okay, let's try it. Started weekend. Before we knew it, we realized, yeah, it could be actually developed. And I put myself into it. And from one truck, we had two trucks initially, but he took one truck back. We stayed with one, and then slowly we developed into six trucks, and business going well. So it wasn't something that I thought of, but in a sort of just through my networks, and say, well, this is an opportunity coming, because some opportunity can knock to your door and you may be sleeping, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And just looking at the line of business and work that you chose to do, most of the work that you do is removalist, right? And
Yeah,
you're moving people from point A to point B.
on B.
Now, I wanted to really direct your audience to that particular aspect of business, which is basically we get paid in direct proportion to the value that you bring to the marketplace. People
Mm,
can't, as in Africa, put their furniture on a bus and transport it to the nearest town to where they're moving to. I mean,
mm,
if you've got so
mm,
the value that you're bringing to people, in that particular time of need, is what you actually get paid for. And if you find instances of when you can help people make sense of the world around them, I kid you not, somebody will raise their hand and issue out their credit card or a wallet, and then they'll pay you to do that thing. So we need to constantly be paying attention to what's around us.
Mm.
in order for us to look out for these opportunities, because what we end up doing is not what we what we set out or what we study in college,
Yeah.
eventually.
Absolutely. And my idea then was, I mean, if I can develop this business, eventually I can sell it, even though I don't want to do it for a long, long period of time. But if it does well, I can get people obviously work, and I am working on the business. Eventually I sell it. Then I go and find something else that I want to do because I have enough value for that. So, there's that sort of mentality where we can, even if it's something that you not necessarily interested originally, you can develop it and flip it and go to something else. We see a rise in entrepreneurship mindset all over the world, whether it's in America, whether it's in Europe or Africa, even and in Australia. Is that because that's just sort of the it's the time, the age for more entrepreneurship, or there's something else that explains? Is it technology? What do you think?
Absolutely. Now, Clyde, I would assume that when you came from Africa, you would have maybe had the same telephone system that we had back in Zimbabwe. That the telephone was usually close to the door or in the
Yeah,
hallway, and there was only one telephone, and
yeah,
that phone usually was answered by dad,
yeah. From
and
him.
he would then distribute. He was the PBX of the home establishment. And if you were maybe a little bit elite, or rich, then you probably would have had access to a computer either at school or at church, or you had one within your home. All right. Now, if
Mm,
you look at it 10, 15 years down the track, that has now been decentralized. We now, I think in my household, there's four people that live here, but I think we've got about 16 different screens
mm,
that have, emanated from our lives. My kids have got their iPads, they've got a phone, and we've got TVs in every corner that we look at. That has created an opportunity for us to be reached and disturbed, or be interacted with at any given time. Now, back in the time when the telephone only belonged to the whole household, 8 people were sharing that one device. So it was difficult for us to expand into business, because you had to only sell to one person within the household. Now you can sell one household 8 times. So that opens up avenues and opportunities for people to actually start engaging in business. So technology has opened up the Pandora's box and allowed people to be communicated to and reached, even at times like this. I'm looking at the time; it's way past some people's bedtime, and we're sitting here live and delivering content and value just to aid other people to start scaling and grow a business that's profitable and enjoyable. So technology has really, taken us through leaps and bounds.
Okay, let me remind those watching, you're watching African Knowledge on Africa Media Australia, and we're talking entrepreneurship today. And my guest is Prosper Taruvinga, who is an entrepreneur who operates in the digital marketing space. Prosper, you talked about technology, obviously, and that leads us to what you're actually doing, digital marketing. Tell us a little bit more about that. What is it? What is it about?
Fantastic. I wish people would just remove digital in front of that phase. It is generally marketing. What we're doing is we work with consultants, really, and people that are within the entrepreneurial space, like coaches, consultants, and people that sell their expertise online. How we help them is we help them target the right audience for their message, and then we help them clarify the message that they need to send to that audience. While doing that, we then choose what media will be best for them to amplify that message to that target audience. So this generally helps them create leads, which generally helps them grow their business, and what you've been alluding to, maybe scaling it or selling it eventually.
Okay. And what what I mean, I suppose for businesses nowadays, there's you talked about marketing, just marketing. Let's not mention digital marketing, but I suppose there's sort of the traditional marketing, and then
Right.
there's the online marketing. There are some businesses that perhaps may not necessarily operate in the digital space. That's because perhaps either the owners don't really know anything about it, or the nature of the business itself is one that really requires more of a physical contact. But what um what 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 would you suggest that people look at when they set up their marketing plan to help their business to grow forward, especially those who are starting new? Because marketing, that's the thing that makes or breaks a business, isn't it? If you don't market your business well, you are bound to die.
Absolutely. People are not going to beat a pathway to your door if you're not gonna tell them how you're gonna, be of value to them. So
Mm.
naturally, like you're saying, some businesses are still in the traditional side of work. One
Hmm.
thing that I usually advise people when I start working with them is to really zero in and to dial in on who actually is the people that will end up paying them. All right. So, to give you a specific example, we started working with an accountant. And when they came to us, they said that they wanted to attract business people and entrepreneurs so that they can help them with their BAS and their GST, and also maybe acquisitions, and anything to do with the accounting spectrum in the business world. Now, when we started talking to them to find out who their ideal audience was, the first place we went to was in their testimonials and reviews. And we discovered that the people that were leaving a lot of reviews are teachers. All right. Teachers
Mm.
who had been working with that accounting firm for a very long time. So if we went ahead and started creating marketing that was targeted, to entrepreneurs and business people, it was not going to sit well. So we started with the low hanging fruit, which is those teachers, and then we helped them transition so that they pointed their message to the right audience. Now, no matter whether it's traditional or digital marketing or digital marketing, you need to know where your audience resides and you want to play there. If your audience is still looking at billboards, then make sure your marketing is in billboards. If your audience has gone digital, you want to be where they congregate. There's no point in trying to spray and pray your marketing and hope that something will stick. Those that understand your marketing will resonate with it, because people never listen to marketing that is not directed at them.
Okay, people don't listen to marketing that is not directed at them. So you need to, I suppose, differentiate. Do some customer segmentation and target them appropriately. But and then again, online, it's just a crowded space, and it's not easy to be noticed, or is it?
Absolutely. We're here now. You found me amongst a sea of Me Too digital agencies.
Yeah.
You see, the thing about the online space is, we are now media uh, personals, each and every one of us. Back in the
Mm,
time, this whole operation, I would have been in your studio. We would have arranged months in advance. I would have been sitting in front of you, and the camera would have been as big as this laptop. But we are communicating and we're broadcasting live to an audience, while I'm sitting here in Manda and you are sitting, at your studio then. All right.
mm.
So what has happened is everybody has got a microphone, everybody has got a camera. All right. And everybody can contribute to that noise. But if you have a message that is directed to a particular audience and you know the right media to reach out to, your customers will definitely seek you out and want to work with you. This is why we have to ignore that noise and make sure we are being of value to those that we're going to be demanding money from in the future. So if you're providing value to your audience, and if you're making sure that you are consistent in that messaging and you are presenting it in such a way that people would understand it and make use of it, I can guarantee that people will seek you out. And there's one thing that a lot of people usually take for granted. If you don't know how many customers you actually need to either break even or to make a profit, then you are going to be also frustrated by the noise. Half of the times when I work with my customers, especially consultants, we find that most of them only need between 5 to 7 customers in order for them to actually be profitable. Now, you don't need 500,000 followers like a celebrity or anything else. All you need is to be relevant to that 5 to 7 people on a consistent basis, and the rest is noise. So that's the reason why a lot of people get frustrated, because they haven't really dialed in who their target audience is and why and what they need to reach out to them for, and how they're going to make a difference in their life.
Sorry, man, we've been interrupted again.
It,
Yes, we've been cut off. The internet is still playing on us, and that is interrupting our feed. All right, we'll continue. Hopefully, that won't happen again. We apologize to our viewers. Now, one thing that is actually quite difficult for people is obviously you mentioned that people have nowadays we have a camera, we have a microphone for our phone, and we have the internet, which is basically the whole world open to us. But you need to craft your message well, you need to target your people well, you need to do all the things right. That's when people like yourselves come in, because you have the skills to help do that. Do you think people sufficiently understand the need to be assisted in this process? Because sometimes people just think if you post something on your Facebook page, that's enough for your business.
You see, that's a very, very good question there, Clyde. Now, I want to ask you a couple of questions just so that I can build my answer with you. When
Yeah,
you started Facebook, your profile, and being on social media, how much did it cost you to get that started?
zero,
Okay. And when you started your Instagram or your YouTube or your podcast, how much money did you pay Mark Zuckerberg?
zero.
Absolutely. So the bar of entry into these things is zero, right?
Yeah.
But for you to be seen, to be heard in a sea of zero, you're going to have to show up in a different manner, because everyone and their dog has a Facebook profile. And I kid you not, I have a friend who actually maintains an Instagram for their dog, and that dog has more followers than I have.
Yes.
Right. So
Yeah.
so so naturally, people have always thought, if I created this profile for free and if I can post for free, why do I need to pay a third party or somebody else to in order for me to engage? And that narrative is something that only when people have realized that they need to put out consistent content, and it has to be of value, and they have to show up to their audience, then they know that they can't do it all by themselves, because you can't climb the ladder of success with your hands full. All right. And the
Mm.
the, the, the reason why it now behoves you to have somebody to assist you is because it's a never ending cycle. Our social media platforms, our internet is hungry for information and content, and every 3 minutes your news feed is totally different. So how can you keep up while you're also delivering value and a service to your clients? So this is where you now really need to consider what are your value activities within your business, and what can you outsource to somebody else who can do it cheaper, better, faster, and make you look even bigger and much more professional than you would try and do it by yourself.
Mm. So definitely, it does take a little bit of skills for that to actually happen. And what do you think about people who think that obviously digital marketing does bring value, or marketing brings value, but it's more the word of mouth marketing that overall, in a long run, will make a big difference. What's your answer to that?
Fantastic. If you look at what is actually happening between us right now, it's days and years of seeing and connecting or hearing from other people of each other's work. That is where word of mouth happens, but it just does not occur by itself.
Mm,
I have what I think is the most beautiful daughter any dad can ever think of, but nobody knows about her because nobody talks about her. So you could have the best business, you could have the best services, but if you don't fuel that fire for people to continuously talk, then they're not going to speak about you at a barbecue. So
mm,
somehow we have to fuel our ammunition and our message into our target market, and then maybe just pretend like it wasn't us that did it. So we have to foster and create and start those conversations to start happening, because 9 times out of 10 people don't just start talking about your business if you haven't done anything of note to
mm,
them. There used to be 15 seconds of fame. Now 15 people have 1 second of fame. So if you're banking that, yes, there would be word of mouth run around your business, then you have to craft it and give your audience or target market the ammunition for them to be confident enough to say, you know what, I can bring this person onto my platform, I can invite this person to an interview, or I can recommend this person to somebody that they trust.
mm, mm. And obviously, word of mouth does take a lot of work to eventually yield fruits, doesn't it?
It takes so much work because everybody's always thinking about themselves. By the time somebody thinks of another person, there has to be some big reason, Clyde, for them to talk about you.
Mm,
I assume you are connected to a networking platform where you have to attend 45 times on average before people start recommending you to their network. They need to trust you, they need to know you, they need to like you. So people are not just gonna go out and start talking about you just because you did something or you started a business.
absolutely. All right, people, we're not just going to talk about you because you started a business. You have to give them a reason to do so, and that's part of, I suppose, what you do in your business. Customer service is very, very important. Now, a lot of our businesses within our communities tend to be sort of limited to sort of what I call ghetto business, just limited to trying to service the community. What's your view on that, and how can they sort of expand and aim higher and do better?
I base that on a couple of things. First of all, it's fear. And then second of all, it's the mindset of the person who is uh, running that business. Because half of the time, a lot of people, not that they're afraid of failure, people are actually afraid of success. Because most of the time when you become successful, every one of your family members from where we came from, we're African, right? We have what's called the black tax. Every one of our relatives will start looking at us and wanting a piece of what we've created. So most of the time, people don't blow up and people don't go out and do more because they don't want that curse or that responsibility of, oh, at least you have succeeded. So you need to give us a hand, or we are going to relax. We're not going to farm anymore. We're going to actually start looking up to you to look out for us. So that's the reason why a lot of people don't go out and really, really expand and do more with what they have, because the whole thing about business is like an ocean. You are given an ocean to draw water from. Some people go with a bowser, some people go with buckets, some people go with drums, some people just go with a teaspoon. So it depends on how much you want to collect, because everyone, who starts a business must have what they want out of it, and then decide how big they want to grow the enterprise, because it's usually fear and maybe the mindset, or people just don't know how to then expand into other territories.
Yeah, you mentioned the black tax there, and I remember having a pretty heated conversation with a friend of mine on that sort of issue, and that happens uh, in Africa a lot. There's that notion of solidarity, which is sometimes incorrectly applied, because they think because you've succeeded now, it's your job to try to lift everyone up, and before you know, if everybody's pulling you down, then eventually you you go down again. Do you think that is that applies a lot in our communities?
I will speak mainly for the Zimbabwean community, because that's the one that I'm coming from. I'm not quite
Yeah,
sure of the broader, spectrum.
African
And
Australian. Yeah.
yes, and I'm going to say this with utmost love and respect. When we started the show, I did mention that a lot of Zimbabwean people are educated. A lot of Zimbabwean people have come from affluence. And when they come on to Australia, it is usually liberty or looking for greener pastures. Now, the parents back home would have sacrificed for that education to happen. The parents back home would have probably sacrificed for that, degrees that they come with. And it is now an obligation for the son or daughter who has landed onto Australia to then send the elevator down. And
Mm.
naturally, we try to first of all appease the people that have helped us get to where we are, and then half of the time maybe they don't quite understand that what they would have done is not a lifelong sentence that is thrust upon the person who is now overseas. So that continues throughout the person's journey, and sometimes it gets you get emotionally drained, because
Mm.
everyone now automatically knows they have a cousin, they have a brother, or a relative who happens to have the same last name, who has at least had a bit of success overseas.
Mm. Mm. Okay, and then staying with the community issue, I hear a lot of people who either are already in business or wanting to venture in business mention the fact that we don't get as much community support from our own communities to help us, progress or advance our business ventures. When you look at what happens with other communities, the Jewish community, the Indian communities, the Asians, and all that, you see there's a lot of support, and money actually goes into their community a lot more longer before it goes anywhere else, and that is lacking within African Australian communities, and even in the US. I was listening to something of that type too. Do you agree with that first? And what is it that makes us not to support each other as much as we should in our business ventures?
Fantastic. So naturally, I'm also going to speak from my own experience and the community that I sort of represent at this current moment.
Yeah.
When we are going through life in Zimbabwe, we already have two distinct tribes, and
Mm.
there's the Ndebele and then there's the Shona. And
Mhm.
within those distinct tribes, we also have little clans that have been formulated by either regions where you live, or formulated by the school that you went to, because we
Mm.
have that much strong connections to the schools and the communities and the system that we were brought up in. So naturally, when people come over here, if I meet a Zimbabwean, usually the first thing I ask them is, what school did you go to? What who did you grow up in? And
Mm.
naturally, we take those prior differences, and we bring them onto a whole different turf. Yes, we might connect on a level of being Zimbabwean, but we do not connect at a level of what school or what area did you grow up in. And
Mm.
also from the Zimbabwean community, and I'm going to say this with love and respect, there's a different kind of Zimbabwe for every year. All right. So the Zimbabwean that came into Australia in the 1980s had not seen the struggle, the strife that was happening in Zimbabwe post, most of independence. And those
Mm-hmm.
that came in the 1990s came in a different wavelength. So they don't quite understand how other people had to, either suffer or had to make ends meet in order for them to, come over here. So that already creates differences in how people connect and collaborate. Yes, I can see that there's a Zimbabwean person who's running a business there, but maybe our past or where we are from or our culture or our clans or whatever system brought us into Australia does not connect at the level of which that person is. So that's from the Zimbabwean sense and my experience. That's what I've been seeing. But that's not to say that if somebody has a business that is up and coming, we have a Zimbabwe business community that we work with people that are starting their businesses, and we're giving them resources, and we're also helping them. I have maybe 3 or 4 clients that are actually Zimbabwean, that are doing well in their businesses, and we're just really helping them amplify their message to their audience. So there are a lot of factors that contribute to that at a mental and at a granular level. So I'm hoping I answered your question there.
Yeah, I suppose so. But do you think there's also a little bit of jealousy that goes into it as well? That they don't want to help others? Just as much as you said, some people are afraid to succeed, then some people are also afraid to see others succeed.
That now becomes a mindset. Okay, right now I could be jealous of your jacket right now, or your tie, or your pocket
It's an
square,
expensive
and
one.
that
Yeah,
you're,
I
and
know.
you're looking better than I am. But that does not mean what you have and your situation and your circumstances are all gonna come to me. All right. A lot of
Mm,
us Zimbabwean people are usually maybe church or God-fearing people. I don't think if you are really fulfilled in what you're doing and the way that you present yourself in life, whatever somebody's going through in their life, you don't want their story, because
mm,
all you're seeing are the pre highlights. Is the highlights. I'm only just showing you a bit of what I want you to see. You don't know what's actually happening behind the scenes with everybody else around it. So don't feel envious or try and be where somebody is, because you don't know
mm.
what they have to do in order to get there. It's 9:59 p.m. right now, and we're working, Clyde.
Yeah.
But when people see us out there, they're gonna be like, oh, I want the Rolls Royce that guy drives. I want the fancy watches that guy wears. I want the fancy clients that he has. But they don't see the work that goes on behind the scenes. So if you're gonna be envious of anyone, be envious about the whole thing. They might be having problems with their wife. Do you want that? They might be having problems with their actual family. Do you want that? So don't
Yes.
pick and choose things to be jealous about. Take the whole, and then you see, no, wait a minute, I actually have it good.
Absolutely. That's very good. Let me just acknowledge those who are watching and remind you first that you're watching African Knowledge on African Media Australia. We're talking entrepreneurship with Prosper Taruvinga, and I've got James Pinga who's watching and who's making a good comment there. You both inspire me, and I'm proud of you guys. This media channel is great. I know James is an entrepreneur as well who works very hard and is
Absolutely.
building is building a little bit of an empire. That's good. That's you need to keep on working hard, and that's, I suppose, the message with entrepreneurship. You got to work hard, you got to work smart, you got to keep working and working. That's the only way to create wealth, isn't it?
Absolutely. You see, the thing is, the higher you go, the cooler it actually becomes. If you go into the stadium, there's different levels. There's the ordinary general seating. That's where most of the noise is. That's where most of the noise and the fights and the banging is all there. People fighting for a team that they don't even know most of the players that are playing in there. And then there's the
Mm,
corporate boxes at the top there where
yeah,
people are sitting, there's aircon, they're
behind
being
glasses.
served, and it's nice and relaxed, and people are even sharing business. So figure
Mm,
out, when you are going into business, who is operating at the level at which you would want to operate from. Find out how they did it, because a lot of people that are successful have left clues as to how they have done it. Most of the
Mm.
clues are left in books. Most of the clues are even in videos like this. Most of the clues are around us. So instead of getting jealous, get even.
Mm. Get even. That's a very good message, and I suppose that a very good way of concluding this. I know it's getting late, and because of the delay, because of the issues that we had with the technology, and then the delay that ensued, we have not been able to finish on time. But we know this is a conversation that a lot of people in the community would want to continue, but we're out of time for now, and we will try to find additional opportunities. I know Prosper is someone who's always willing to share his knowledge, his experience, and I'm sure if we invite him next time, he will definitely come back, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. As long as we're contributing, as long as we're giving and helping each other, progress and prosper, I am more than happy to be always be, available to help other people be, do, and have a business that's profitable and enjoyable.
All right, Prosper Taruvinga, thank you very much. Let me remind those watching that you are an entrepreneur. You are operating in the digital marketing space. So if you have a business and you want to advertise, digital advertisement is the way to go. Digital marketing is the way to go, and he is a specialist who can offer those services. So you can contact us or him on his. How can people contact you, Prosper? I just want to give you the opportunity. If people are interested to get your help to assist them, how can they
Fantastic.
contact you? Yeah.
Fantastic. And thank you so much for that. The digital agency that I own is called Live Long Digital. So, for those that would have watched TV back in the days, there's a show called Star Trek. So, just remember Live Long and Prosper. And if you look up Live Long Digital, you will be able to find this smiley face, and we will be able to help you start, scale, and sell a business that's profitable and enjoyable.
Well, his name is Prosper. If you want to prosper, you know where to go. Thank you very much. Until next time, stay blessed, all guys. Thank you very much. Talk to you next time. Thank you. Okay. All right.
This is still
Okay.
live.
This thing is very slow. It's not stopping.